you through the A to Z of starting in real estate, how to do it, what to say, what it's like, stuff like that.
Yeah. And we're going to be live any second now on Facebook.
And we're live on Facebook.
Hey! Welcome to Morning Minutes. Myself, Michael Burgio, and Mark Novak, episode 216. It's ticking along nicely. And this episode's going to be about how to get into real estate, especially where any ad looking for agents to join the industry always says we want 1 year experience or blah, blah, blah. But how do you get experience when you don't have experience? And if everyone asks for experience, so we're going to address that. There's a lot of people who get into real estate, Mark. You can be 18, you can be 50. And what is and real estate is quite a rewarding industry. But it is very true that 95% probably earn 5% earn 95% of the money, and 95% earn 5% of the money. So it's not for everybody. And I think we'll touch on how to know if it's for you, or some good traits that we see. What are the traits in great agents, and help people identify it. Luke, good to have you on. Mark. So let's take from the top, the A to Z's of getting into real estate.
Getting into real estate. Okay, so it's probably opportune time because there's a lot of students just about coming on they're doing their exams, their trial HSC, and then they got the HSMs in September. So some young kiddies are thinking about getting into real estate. It's probably a good time due to COVID, people pivoting due to COVID. And the next thing to do is, how the hell do you get a job? Like, where do you start? And you want to be sure-footed if you're getting into real estate. You don't want to get into a agency where you have to move, or you want to move after 6 to 12 months and things like that. Culture is an ugly word. You want to get that right. Training, you want to get that right. Location, you want to get that right. So let's talk about where do you start?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing to start is there is a minimum requirement educational certificate wise, and you can get that from, there's a lot of places, but basically it's a certificate of registration, and that basically allows you to do the basics in real estate and work in real estate. Good morning, Lisa Novak. The qualifications, they are changing, but I believe then they changed in March. But anyway, certificate of registration, there's great companies out there that you can do it online. I know Rosie Sullivan, we do all our training with her at Australian
College of Professionals.
Yep. So I know she tunes in a lot. So Rosie, if you watch this, pop your details in there. So you do need that basics, which can be done in a couple of days. So it's okay to do that before you've got a job, because that is one of the biggest requirements for a job. So I would reckon to get that.
Yep.
But then I reckon a big thing is do some investigations prior. So look who's active in the industry in your area. You may know some brands because you've seen the brands, but as we know, from suburb to suburb and zone, like area to area, like you may have Ray White quite predominant somewhere else, but not in your area. And I think it is important to work in a company that they do have a big rent roll, they do sell a lot, because generally there's more roles.
What's a big rent roll?
I reckon probably above 500 would be a big rent roll. What do you think?
Well, it's got to, what I mean is, so Billy Jury, who's he's a young guy looking at possibly starting with us. He's been coming in on Sundays, doing the Sunday shift with the office. How would we explain to Billy what a rent roll is? It's the amount of properties that that a real estate agency manages for clients. So they're rental properties.
Yep.
And those rental properties often come up for sale. That helps sales people. Those rental properties allow us to have a lot of signboards out in the community, for lease, for sale. So that helps us generate sales and revenue. It's also good cost-based covering. So if it's a real estate agency that's running thin in a tough market, if they don't have any rental properties that they manage, that's another revenue stream they don't have. They can often implode because of that. So a good solid company has a good sales team, has a good rent roll, and even a different part of their business, which is a third pillar, which is what we have, which is commercial and also projects. So yeah, keep an eye on that when you're looking for a job. If you can be in a good solid company, not always the case, but if you can do it, that's great.
But why is that important? And why I believe that's important is when a company has that volume, it opens more doors with role opportunities. So in a smaller agency,
really good point.
Yeah, it may just have a property manager that does many different roles. So leasing, applications, showing properties, and the marketing to do it. Same with the sales agent. If they're doing low volume, that sales agent may do all the creative and support stuff and the selling as well and the buyer work. Now, with a company how we've got it, where you've got huge volume, you actually can have roles. Huge. You can have many different people doing many different roles. So one thing I've definitely observed over the many years, and I'm sure you've observed it over your many, many, many more years of experience, is someone may love real estate, but they don't form the typical role, which could be a listing agent or a selling agent or a property manager. It just doesn't mix with their personality, or they don't enjoy it, but they may love writing text for property, and then or they may love doing the photography, they may love dealing with the tenant side of things but not necessarily the maintenance side of thing, or they may love doing the maintenance but they don't love doing the selling or the closing. It's just not in their nature, which we'll get to chaos and order type of people. But with a company with a huge volume, they allow to have actually different people for those roles. So that's where it's a very good identifier. If you're new, you want to go to a company with that volume, just because they can offer many more roles for you rather than what you think there are. And therefore, if the one role that doesn't form, you don't have to change companies. Because I think, hello, I think he just called you an old man. LJ will go home loans. Yeah, I did. I called Mark old. Because I think the worst thing agents do, and young real estate agents do, and even old ones probably more so, is they change companies way too often, like they change underpants. I think that's the worst thing for you. So you want to avoid that, especially in your first few years. Treat it like an apprenticeship. You don't change apprenticeships, even if your boss is,
How do you know if you're suited for a particular role in real estate? Because it's not just real estate as a role. There's in real estate, there is admin. There's in real estate, there's salesperson, there's sales support. So you support the salesperson. In our company, we've got a media agency arm, which is a lot of graphic, a lot of designing and stuff like that.
A lot of other agencies. Like we look at Lisa, we've just brought on, like, she would have never thought she's right for real estate like that. You just wouldn't think that exists.
Not Lisa Novak, Lisa Glynn.
No, Lisa Glynn.
Yeah.
Lisa Novak was born for it.
So she's a full blown graphic, our second graphic designer that works in house with us. We've got property managers. We've got people that put up signs. We've got people running front of house, which is sort of meeting and greeting everyone that comes in. We've got people that do routine inspections. We've got people that
do applications,
do commercial leasing, residential leasing, commercial leasing, which is showing the prospective tenants through. So there's Lisa reckons you should get a pay rise.
I
think that's a typo, obviously.
Done. Approved. Sending to accounts now.
But there's definitely all these different roles you can go for. Now, how do you know what's good for you? It's probably more important just to get your foot in the door. And if it's a big enough company, i.e., it's not just a husband and wife running a real estate agency. If there's,
Yeah, because they're horrible at times. That go.
Yeah, time this morning. But it's not a two-man band or a three-man band, and you can't really expand out into anything. How do you know? You've got to just get in on ground level. How do you know the culture's right, Michael?
Well, I think first of all, you made a great point off air. A lot of people ask for experience prior to getting in. So I think that culture and all that can come. You need that to be top of mind. I think two things. You need to actually get a job in there. That's going to be probably one of the biggest hurdles. And two, you need to be honest with yourself and categorize yourself in two roles. At least give you the direction. Are you going to the sales side or the rental side? But to be honest, you'll take any just to get in. But I think you need to at least explain. I think a good way to explain to a principal or the person hiring, going, I'm chaos driven. Like, put me in those environments and I'm going to thrive. That's where I feel, or I'm order driven. And then at least have that conversation. And what we mean by chaos and order, typically chaos is sales agents and order on the property management side. So we can go into more depth on that later, but just go with me there. So I think that's a good way to at least say to yourself what you thrive in and the direction. But the biggest thing is just getting a job. Now, if you're 18 to 22, just finished school, still living at home, it's ideal for you because you don't have the kids, you don't have a mortgage potentially. Like you've got the ability to do this technique to get a role. Now, if they say I need 1 year experience, what I would be doing is knocking on their door and say, you say you need experience. I've got no experience, but I'm hungry and I'll work for free. I'll do it for a week. I'll do it for a month. I'll do it for 3 months. At that age, you have the ability to work for free, even though you may not like it, but to get into it.
If you're fortunate enough to do that at the moment, absolutely, and probably not a bad time if you're on JobKeeper at the moment. To go and offer your services to get into a real estate agency. Not suggesting we want people to come work for free, but it's a nice way to get an entree, and it's no pressure. And you realise whether you like the people, the tribe, because it doesn't mean that the tribe's bad, or it doesn't mean that you're bad if you don't get along. It's literally like it's a bit like a family where you sort of will get along or you just won't. For whatever reason, you just like that. So I really like getting someone in the driver's seat for a week or two to see how they perform and how we perform, and if there's actually a gel there. Because you just can't be all, I get it, you just can't be all things to all people, whether you are an employee or an employer. So I think a good trial period of a week or two is important, and just set it up. We'll have a chat after this to see if you want to stay.
Question from Property Images: what's the average weekly wage for a property manager? In my experience, it ranges from basically 60 to 80 grand a year, depending on experience and the company. But that gives you a good indication of where a property manager would be. Okay, and I think you hit the nail on the head there, Mark, because anyone can look good on paper. Like we've seen people who look great on paper and they're useless in the role. And then there's people who may not look so good on paper and they've been phenomenal. They've done really well. So I think a big thing is getting down. I think a lot of people, obviously they're nervous, so they hide behind the resume and they email it in or whatever they do.
Resume is absolutely useless.
Who cares?
The only thing I look at on a resume as an employer, and just to qualify myself, like we manage 50. We have 50 staff in the office. We've probably employed well over 500 or 600 people in our career as 18 years as real estate agents. And this is what we see, what we feel, what we experience with people, and that's hopefully what we're doing this morning. How to get started in real estate, what our expectations are as an employer, what we see expectations are as employees. Is experience important? As a summary, no. Getting in there and just working, yes. Don't feel bad if you don't gel with the office. That's cool.
You know what the biggest thing these people should do, Mark, besides if they may not have the confidence to walk down to the office, and sometimes it's hard to catch a principal or the decision maker because it is quite a demanding job. You know what? People should be doing a video. They should do a video, upload it privately to YouTube, and send them the link to their mobile saying, hey, I want a job, here I am. Because what is more important than anything on a piece of paper is how you communicate with people. We are in a service industry, and we are people in our industry.
Great idea.
Yeah, great. And we should be asking any resume that come in, Mark. That's what we should say. Send us a video, because how you communicate with people is the biggest thing.
We actually did that with our graphic designer. We said SMS your video, your 30-second video to 0460 111 and about why you're interested in getting the job. It was pretty cool.
I'll tell you what, that little hack is such a big point of difference that no one's doing it. So if you're looking for a job right now in any industry,
it's a great idea.
Send them the link saying, hey, this is who I am. I want a career there. Give me a crack, basically. And if it does resort to, like, it may be that icing on the cake, going, I'll work for the first 2 weeks for free. Just give me
the job, let me prove myself.
To get started, I think that's the biggest tip. Now,
hey, Lisa Novak's very, very, very noisy this morning. She's got a couple of things she wants to say, and sometimes she does come up with a unicorn. Sometimes she does come up with a unicorn. A lot of times she comes up with a unicorn. Guys, I just had a lovely girl who followed me on social who wants to work with me. I advised her to get the foot in the door. We had an opening in leasing. She got the job. My eyes on her while she's training up just to get the foot in. So, advice. Really, really good one. Very good one, Lisa. Very good.
Good work, Lisa.
Unbelievable. Our legendary front of house, Steph, has just done that. She was working front of house for a year, which is meet and greet, everyone come in. She's now going into leasing as well. Great advice, applying for different roles and generate sales leads.
Roberta. Sorry. No uni degree required. What? No uni degree? Yes, you do not need the uni degree. Would you recommend someone to get their license in real estate, Mark, prior to working in real estate? I think some people go, will I look better on my resume if I've got my license? So should I spend 6 weeks, 6 months, a year doing my license prior to the job? What's your view?
The only reason I'd get the license is to get exposure to the radiation. Just to work out whether this is for you or me. You can do that academically, and you're left with the education. To go and get the job and to work it out, you have to leave your job, and you don't have any piece of paper saying you accomplished anything if you work for 2 months in real estate. So I think it's great to get exposure, but it's really funny. Real estate agents are a bunch of naughty school kids.
It's true. Most, not the academic ones. So I think my advice would be I would rather have, I would rather work 2 weeks in the industry for free than study a year to get it. And I think a principal would as well. I think there's nothing better than just getting in there, getting your hands dirty and working in the industry if you love it or not. You may do that for a month and then go do your license if you've decided that's for you. I know I did that. I got my certificate, got a role, knew it was for me, and then I did the higher education. One, because you're right, Mark, and especially it may be a good foot in to find people to get contacts, because if you don't know any agents or know anyone, how do you know? How can you leverage who you know? Now, sitting in a class with 20 future agents, there will be some people who are doing that license, may have been in the industry for many years prior, who have contacts, and it's a really good way to get your foot into it. I love that reasoning to do it. Plus, you get that higher level education. But real estate is definitely one of those fields where you've got to just get in there. You could ace your license degree, but suck at being an agent. So it's not one of those, like, say, accounting, where you need to know the formulas and the procedures, and then you're good to go. So I definitely think that workplace work experience trumps anything.
Can we talk about how good I am?
No. So this, yeah. So
No,
there's
no, just
the
I'm just
traits of a
kidding.
great agent.
I am just kidding, but I think it is important to have mentoring.
Yes.
I think that it's great to have. Sometimes you don't get exposed to leadership within these real estate companies where no one is allowing you to snap onto them or snap next to them or work and rise. So again, I think having managers and people around you that are in high growth phase themselves,
Yeah.
then means that they'll be like-minded to pull you along on the ride when you're young in the industry. Now we've covered a lot of young people as in getting out of school, but 30, 40, 50, getting into real estate, impossible. You're too old. Don't even forget about it. Think about retiring. No, just joking. What you should do is...
Hello from Manchester. How good's that? Philip, how are you?
Manchester, legend. What
if
you
people
should
are
do...
just tuning in, mate, do you want to recap what we're talking about for all the people just tuned in?
Getting a job in real estate, the experience that you actually require or don't require, zero is experience. Life experience is more important. Yeah. EQ in real estate is more important than IQ in real estate. So that emotional intelligence where you can actually relate to people, very important. Now, for people who are 30, 50, 40 that are starting in real estate, the one message or the one trait that I've seen that people do really well in is they have no airs and they have no graces, and they will listen to what has to be done. They are willing to strip back. They know what they know and they're good at what they know, but they're willing to strip back, apply, and learn.
Yeah. So a 22-year-old thinking they know the world because they've just aced their HSC can be a little bit more arrogant than a 50-year-old who has a life experience. It's funny, like it's weird. You wouldn't think
Branca's
that,
an example,
but it's so true.
Yeah, so Branca, she was old when she started real estate.
She was so young, not as old as you, but she was young.
Gonna get shot. But no, Branca, our department head of property management, she started. She had 2 kids that are approximately 10 years of age. So she was in the grind of motherhood. Mm-hmm. She had her own business. She was herself probably 35.
Hospitality food. I think that's a big one to point out. Wasn't in real estate.
Yeah, it's a great one. Anyone thinking that they're pivoting now? She was 35, 40 odd years of age. She had never used a computer. She did not know how to send an email. This year, she was voted by realestate.com.au. I couldn't speak. English was her second language.
Migrated here or immigrated. What's the word? Migrated.
Not formally educated in this country. So she was voted by realestate.com.au as property manager of the year. How did she do it? She had no airs, no graces. Give me a job. Don't care how much I'm going to get paid. Give me a job. Don't care what I do. She went on to reception and then boom, 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 boom,
basically,
boom, through the business.
Every box you would think someone needs to tick for a job, she didn't tick.
Every box,
if you looked at a resume, you'd have been like, no. Yeah. But
she had quite a heavy accent.
Yep.
Kids to go home to and look after. Everything and the language. Wow.
Why do you think Branca made it compared to?
She was.
Why?
Back to what I said 2 minutes ago. She was willing to adapt. She was no airs, no graces. And can I say, I had a property manager in Welling Up the other day, a career property manager who's been doing it for a long time, over how a landlord was treated. And I was like, how many property managers would have a cry over a landlord getting bad service?
Yeah.
And then that, these guys, and that's what, and someone like Branca, these guys just it doesn't matter about the formal education, the experience. They just really care. Like, and I know we say we care, but
that's
when you
caring.
When you're walking through the street and you see someone that's begging for money, how many people actually walk past and how many people actually cared. And yeah, I think willing to adapt and really caring about people is a good trait.
And Lisa's made a great point. Like, you're also very hands-on in that sort of traineeship, mentorship with all the staff. You're not a typical principal where they're listing and selling and that's their main focus, where you're more on the business, in the business, with staff, with sales agents, with property managers. So I think that has
But how would you know that if you're getting a job, though? How would you know?
That's exactly right. How would you?
Yeah. So you sort of got to...
well, the only way to know is really to ask, and you can actually really tell if a principal is a selling principal. You basically got their face on everything in the listing. I think that's a big way to tell, but you've also got to ask the question. If you don't ask, and I don't think a principal would be ashamed of saying, yep, I'm a listing selling principal and they run the office. Like, I don't think that's a negative. I think it's a different way of an office, but I also think there's a big difference when the person at the top is training compared to an office manager, employee training. There's just a different type of it. And I think there's just a lot of different energy going behind it. And as Lisa said, you've trained some of the best that are still here and that have left and they haven't had the same success. Like, it's pretty easy to see if someone was number one in a suburb and then they've left and then they're not number one a couple of years later. So
we run it in our core suburbs. We're always running the number one leader, and supporting them and assisting them. So
Chad's made a great point. Ask the other agents. So I think that's a big point as well.
That's a good one. Actually, Shad's got really good exposure because Shad's got really good exposure because he's a photographer, videographer for real estate agents. So he gets really good exposure talking to all the agents, and it's true. But I think when you're looking for a job with these guys, social media is a very good way to actually identify who you like and who you don't like. Well, not who you like or who you don't like, who you gel with and who you don't gel with as well. So I think for young and old, get social if you're considering getting into real estate. Check out what these guys are up to and who you actually gel with. Not being herbal or spiritual or anything, but there's a little bit of that stuff going on.
Because you can tell a person's personality through their social and if they're doing it. And I 100% agree with that. Like, you can look at, even within our company, you look at Stefan, you look at Glenn, you look at Lisa, Michael Selich is a non-social. You look at myself. Sad. No, he's a good kid. That we all have different personalities. So you will know who you mesh with from how the dialogue, how the text is written. Like, everyone has a personality, social media, the groove. So you will, like, not everyone's not for everyone.
And landlords are even like that with us, and tenants are like that with us, and salespeople are like that, and list of people that want to sell with us. Like, it's almost becomes like a tribal thing, doesn't it? You sort of get who you get along with and who you don't.
Now I want to go a little bit more into that person who is 40, 50 plus, maybe changing agency, like really old. So what did Lisa say? She was 46, so old, like almost.
I didn't realize she looked so much younger than that.
Like, what's the message out there? So we went through a bit of Brunker's story. Like, I don't know, like, it's never too old. There are so many entry levels, and to be honest, I think an older person has a really good starting point in real estate because they're generally dealing with people who are older. So I think that they initially build more rapport. So don't get me wrong, you've still got to do the work, you still got to work hard and all that, but it definitely is an industry. It doesn't matter if you start at 18 or you start at 50. You have the same opportunity. So I think
hard work has no discretion. Like, at the end of the day,
it doesn't discriminate.
It will just, you just get in there, you work hard, you genuinely care about people and good intentions.
Yes.
Like seriously.
Anything else you want to add on to this? Lots of comments.
Oh,
Luke, Bernard,
David Muley.
let's read.
David Muley from school. How are you, legend? Love him.
Ask other
Beautiful, man.
agents.
David Muley, who's watching here, never used to let me swear at school in front of him.
Hey.
He's a good man. Okay,
well, let's
what's Chad saying?
Yeah, interesting things we have seen is the way that the principals talk about their business. My real estate agency versus our real estate, very true. Even you picked me up on that the other day, Mark, when I said yours. You said no, ours.
Yeah.
Very good point. Mentorship is easy if you're willing to be open to it and learn. It's so true. And I think what you said before, Mark, people who are older are more open to learn. And I think that may be because they've experienced people when they've tried to teach people not be open, and they're like, fucking shut up and listen and be open. You don't know anything. So compared to that arrogant 18, 20, 22-year-old who thinks they know everything, Lisa Kramer, thanks for joining, compared to that old, I think that may be the better thing, because you really appreciate listening when you've tried to teach and you know what annoys you. I think that's the biggest thing. So great point, Chad.
Busy morning this morning.
Busy morning. This is good.
I think we're done. That's like 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's long.
Shit. Oops. All right, guys. Hope it helped you. If you've got anyone that's getting into real estate, this is a series that you share with them. Episode 216. Remember that one. Tell them, tag them. And it's something that we get asked all the time. Hopefully we can save you a tremendous amount of time by watching this rather than making some mistakes.
And video resume. That's the new thing. I'm bringing it in.
Oh, it's a great idea. Video self, send it to the agency saying, I want to work for you. Love ya.
Beautiful. Thank you, everyone. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Yep.